I was an early fan of Marvel. I loved these movies, in spite of the fact that I wasn't familiar with the comics. Still, I was first in line to see MCU movies opening weekend, and even stayed till the very end just to see the stinger. Phases 1 through 3, I would go to the theater religiously, despite the fact that not every single movie was a zinger. But for every Ant-Man and Thor 2, there was Captain America Civil War or Guardians of the Galaxy. That was the beauty of early MCU. Every title was leading to the finale in one way or another. I loved the MCU, but I have to admit, something changed, and it's not me. As soon as the Infinity Saga finished with Avengers Endgame, a switch flipped, and the MCU hasn't been the same since. Phase 4 started out with an intriguing Disney Plus series, WandaVision, that I loved. Until the final 2 episodes, that is. Afterwards, each series following steadily declined in quality. I thought that maybe it was just the TV series that hasn't found its footing. So I went to see Black Widow, and oh boy, I can't tell you how long it's been since I've seen something as forgettable as Black Widow. And I even liked the character. The Avengers set up an intriguing premise for her character, but the Black Widow movie took all that and threw it right out the window. And since then, it's been a steady decline into madness. And I've just given up. So, what happened? As stated before, Phase 3 ended with a massive bang. Everyone was satisfied, but there wasn't anything for people to look forward to. Endgame wrapped up pretty much most of the OG characters' arcs pretty neatly. All besides a few, and we'll get to that. All we were left with was a bunch of secondary characters that, besides having intriguing premises, none really had the it factor to carry their own films. Thor, Black Widow, the Guardians, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange were the exceptions. But even there, Marvel managed to fumble them. Again, Black Widow had a ton of potential, but was irrelevant due to the fact that her film was too late to the party. They seriously should have made this film sometime during Phase 2 or 3 when she was hot, not just body-wise. Doing it after her death in Endgame sealed your fate for financial failure. And then there's Thor. I loved Thor Ragnarok. It was a fun take on what had been a mostly serious take on the character. Ragnarok managed to strike a perfect balance between humor and seriousness. That being said, I don't know what happened with Thor Love and Thunder. I guess sometimes having too much creative control and being too jokey can be a bad thing. Isn't that right, Taika Waititi? Love and Thunder again had a ton of potential, but ultimately collapsed under the weight of 1,000 jokes. And that's become a huge problem in the MCU. They cannot go one goddamn moment without adding a patented Marvel humor, even if it doesn't work, which 90% of the time it doesn't. It's either bad timing or just terribly written jokes. There's no in between. For example, there isn't a single gag in She-Hulk that actually lands. Most of the chuckles I got were at the expense of the show. But those jokes have a quota, so regardless of if it actually works, it's gotta be there. And most of the time in Phase 4, it's been directed at the legacy characters. But there's a running theme here, if you haven't noticed. Blatant disrespect towards established characters. Every single OG character that wasn't killed off in Endgame has been spat on, beat down, or otherwise humiliated for the sake of propping up a newer, less interesting characters. If I was them, I would have just wanted to die with the other characters. And that's a sad, sad fact. More often than not, these newer characters are a younger, more diverse version of an older character. Now, I believe that diverse characters have a vital role in modern movies. Of course they do. But they, as any other characters should, need to be written well. Otherwise, they'll come off as checking boxes for corporations. especially if these characters wear their political beliefs on their sleeve, as is often the case with modern writing because modern writers don't know how to write, but I'll get to that. But I think we can all agree that a token character isn't a good thing. Take, for example, Natasha Romanoff. Why did I say Natasha? Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, and T'Challa, aka Black Panther. Both fan favorites and fantastic characters in their own right. Natasha isn't just a kick-ass female, she also had a dark past that had a lot of potential that the movie never cashed in on, if you're noticing a theme. Anyways, despite this, she's still able to open up to her friends, and even openly sacrifices herself to save her oldest and deepest friend. On the other side, there's T'Challa. He's not only the most powerful protector of Wakanda, but he's also grappling with the loss of his father, as well as the sudden and tremendous responsibility of being king. Okay, so this is a copy-paste of The Lion King, but it still works well. These characters are well-written ones who happen to be diverse. The new characters of Phase 4 are saddled with politics first, characters second. They are never given any nuance or likable traits or anything that constitutes a good character in that right. And that's tremendously sad because every single one of them has potential that'll never be recognized because we are stuck with bad writers. Speaking of bad writing, where do I even start with the writing? I don't think there's a single film in Phase 4 that has good writing, and that's including Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I'm not saying that the MCU has been the hallmark of superior writing. The films in Phase 1 through 3 have all been okay, but even when there is an objectively terrible film, you can at least shut off your brain for a couple hours and have fun. I'll admit, I liked Thor 2, despite it being one of the worst MCU films. Looking at it critically, I could tear it a new one. But if I power down, I can have some dumb fun. But even when I was done, I could at least look forward to a much better film on the horizon. I can't say that here. Every film, save but 2, are so bad that it's impossible for me to avoid the blatantly bad writing. I could not enjoy the Black Widow film because it was just so dumb. And we already know why Love and Thunder is terrible. And Multiverse of Madness, well, Mahler had a 6-hour video breaking down why this was an objectively terrible, awful, bad film. And I watched every minute of it. The point is, there's almost no redeeming quality in the Phase 4 films because their writers suck. It doesn't help that they recruited people like the very person who wrote the worst episode of Rick and Morty.
Pickle Rick!
Screw you, Pickle Rick. Because these writers suck so bad, they can't even keep up with the lore. That or they don't care. I'd hedge my bets on the latter. Anyways, during the Infinity Saga, every film was, in one way or another, leading to the penultimate confrontation with Thanos in Endgame. Whether it was Phase 1 gathering the Avengers, or Phase 2 setting the stage of events for Phase 3, it all accumulates to the fight with the giant purple people eater. So, what has Phase 4 set up? Well, we have the multiverse and what I assume is Kane the Conqueror? That's the point. There doesn't seem to be a freaking clear flagpole at the end here. Everything is there, but nothing has been put into place. All of these films feel separate. That's not a bad thing, by the way, but the MCU's greatest strength has always been in the fact that it can string together these seemingly individual stories into one cohesive narrative. It was so innovative that many other studios have attempted to copy this model. To mixed results. I beg to ask, what happened? Well, Kevin Feige admitted that they had no plan after Endgame. Pair that with a writing staff that seemingly doesn't care about the lore of the characters, and you have a recipe for Phase 4 disaster, baby! And there's just so much more to get to here. Like the fact that the visual effects are terrible because the visual effects people are so overworked, and then you have Taika Waititi and Tessa Thompson laughing at them. Very classy, guys! I've dunked on all the Phase 4 films and shows, but there are two notable exceptions here, if you haven't noticed. Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Shang-Chi. These two were the only films that I liked out of the entire phase, and that's because I was able to get some amounts of fun out of them. Shang-Chi I found to be a fun nod to classic Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan kung fu films. Plus, it has one of the coolest fight scenes in all of the MCU. Please bring this back. And I liked where it was going with the plot. Up until the end, where it devolved into a generic CGI monster battle again. Why do you have to do this to yourself, Marvel? Otherwise, I was able to have some fun. And of course, No Way Home, which was able to school the rest of Phase 4 in how to treat your legacy characters. But it just had a fun story with good morals, something that the others can't seem to do. And the characters are all done very well. It reminds me of early MCU. No, wait, scratch that. It reminds me of old Spider-Man. It feels like the film that Tom Holland's Spider-Man finally earns the Spidey suit. These are the films that Kevin Feige needs to bring to the writers of Phase 5 and say, more! Because the rest have been a disaster, not just critically, but financially. They need to go back and look at what made the MCU so good in the first place. Unfortunately, judging from what I've seen from Phase 5, it doesn't look good. Because of this and the failure of Phase 4, I'm just done with the MCU. I may go check out Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but after that, there's no movie, and definitely no Disney Plus series, that I look forward to. I hate to leave with a grim note, but unfortunately, I don't see this ending very well. Disney, and in extension Marvel, have been full of abject failures, and despite the restructuring at the top of Disney, I just don't see anything changing anytime soon. But I want to know your guys' opinions on these films, and what you guys think they can do to fix Phase 5 and just fix the MCU in general. So please hit me up in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye now.